In this video, I will show you how to use one of my favorite video editing tools. Just come with me. So I'm going to start off by clicking into Camtasia. I'm just finding it on my app store now. This is the video software that I prefer to use, and you can see it bouncing up and down on the right, just loading. Next to a cue with a blue in it, that's a QuickTime player. That is what I'm currently using to film my own screen. You can see here that I've started a new project, and then I'm going to import the media I want to find. Now, I actually want to use my last Echo 360 recordings. To find those, go to echo360.org.au, use your RMIT credentials, and then you'll be able to find your recordings from your lectures. Download the ones that you want to find as high definition quality. You can see here that I've relabeled mine so they are easier to find. If they are from lecture recordings, they might actually have a bit of a code based on when they were created. So you might actually have to go through the dates and find the relevant ones. Once this is downloaded, I'm just going to pop it onto my desktop. I then go back into Camtasia and I import that media. So I find it on my desktop and I pop it into Camtasia. Once that loads, all you have to do is right click on it and add it to the timeline at the playhead, and it will show up down the bottom. You can see there that there is the video content, but there's also the audio going through. It comes up looking like a wavelength. And I'm just minimizing the video there. You can maximize it again and really go into the nitty-gritty of that volume so you can make really micro changes. Now, the video that I want to edit is a video on label reading. And this is because the National Heart Foundation tick is no longer used anymore. So instead of recording this whole lecture again that goes for about 35 or 40 minutes, what I want to do is just go and remove the part that's not relevant to the students anymore. So you can see here that I'm just trying to find the relevant part, the bit between my two different lecture slides. And you can see that there's not much audio during that part, and that's because people naturally take a breath or a break before moving into the next slide. I go into edit and I press split to make a cut where I want to remove a section of the recording. I'm now finding my second cut, so where the section on the Heart Foundation tick ends. And I can see here it's between a part on the products and the LoGi symbol. So I'm going to go edit and make a snip again. I then have my part, which I'll zoom in on now, that I want to remove from this lecture. But what I realized earlier is that there is a part that I do want to keep in terms of my audio at the beginning of this section. So I'm going to have a listen. I see that I want to keep a certain part that actually has a slide that I no longer want in it. So I right click on that and I press separate video and audio, and you can see the audio jump up the top there. So now those two things are separated, which is great because it means that I can get rid of the slides that relate to the National Heart Foundation tick while still keeping the audio at the start of that section that I want to keep because I just give a bit of an introduction to logos that are on food. So it is relevant to some of the lecture content still. So you can see now that I'm making snippets and then just deleting the things that I don't want while ensuring that the audio and the content in terms of the slide remain separate. I'm just double checking if there's anything else that needs to be kept for this lecture. I'm going to also check that audio lines up with the slides that I do want to keep. So whatever I'm getting rid of, I need to make sure that that transition is fine between the different parts. So you would never think that a lecture or a different part of the lecture actually existed in that space. I want it to be seamless. Once I'm happy with it, I remove the old slides that were in that background. So you can see now the slides have gone from that bottom track, but I still have the audio located on the top. You can see here that I'm moving the content that I want to keep on LoGi labeling up. So now I've got the audio I wanted to keep and the lecture notes I wanted to keep. And I've removed the lecture notes that I don't want to keep and the audio that I don't want to keep. Now, the next thing I want to do is try to fill that gap on the slides where the audio is, but there's no slides on track 1. I want to copy a part of the low GI slide that's going to be continued on with. So I make a snip just in a random section of that slide and a copy of it. I then move that copy to the end of my track, just so I can get rid of that audio without doing damage to the rest of the video. So I right click and silence video, and then I'm going to slot what is now just a background of the low GI slide into the space where the audio is that I've kept from what was previously the Heart Foundation slides. I then play this again and I check that the quality is seamless. You want it to be a smooth transition between parts and it to not look like there has been evident cuts made. As far as the students know, the lecture was always like this. What I then do is select the whole presentation. So I've got all audio and all parts of that track selected. To stitch it back together, all you need to do is go right click and stitch content, so it's not like there's bits that aren't attached to each other anymore. Then to save that, go to the share button up the top and then just save to a local file. It will automatically save in a HD format. I highly recommend to label that lecture as the year that it's been made, so you know when edits have been created. The great part about this is that each year you can edit your lectures based on what's relevant and what's new. I've shown you an example where I've removed some content whilst keeping some audio, but you can also just add brand new content as well. If you wanted to add a brand new slide rather than copy and stretch out an existing slide, all you need to do is save your new slide in PowerPoint as an image, then upload it as your media, and then you just pop it in and stretch that image out for as long as the audio goes for. Now, this isn't the only software that you can use. There is iMovie on a Mac. You have Adobe Premiere Rush that all RMIT academics have access to. And there is also Windows Photos for Video. It's really super easy, and a lot of these softwares are very user-friendly. Just go in and have a play. All right, so you guys have heard enough from me. Here's one of my students and her thoughts on the chunking of videos.
So Jess has been super supportive of me throughout the entire semester, and I'm in both of her courses, which is food toxicology and nutrition. So in both courses, she sets up these little lecture snippets, which I find really convenient because I can just watch a bit of the lecture and then go do something else rather than sit through the entire long lecture, which would be about 2 hours. It also helps keep my attention span in place rather than just to wander off, and I find it more engaging and interesting to watch parts of it instead.
Thanks for listening, guys. Now back over to Collaborate Ultra Jess.